Commander Vexthal stood at the observation deck of the Stellar Containment Facility, his crystalline exoskeleton catching the light of the distant binary stars. The facility, carved into an asteroid at the edge of contested space, housed the most dangerous prisoners the Garaxian Empire had captured. Each cell was filled with warriors from across the galaxy, massive Chromaxians with their metallic skin, telepathic void dancers from the Nexus worlds, even a few dreaded shadowmancers from the dark side of the Centauri Rim. But today, something was different. The morning report showed a new acquisition, one that made Vexthal's sensory crystals vibrate with amusement. A human. "Show me the specimen," he commanded, his crystalline voice echoing through the chamber. The holographic display flickered to life, showing a holding cell on level 7. Inside sat a small figure, barely reaching the height of a juvenile Garaxian. The prisoner, designation SC-2184, called herself Sarah Chen. "This is what Central Command warned us about." Vexthal's crystalline laugh sent ripples through the observation deck's atmosphere. The supposedly dangerous human threat. Chief Security Officer Calax, a towering figure of living metal, shifted uncomfortably. "Commander, the preliminary reports suggest." "Reports?" Vexthal interrupted. "Look at it. No natural armor, no enhanced musculature, not even basic radiation resistance. The atmosphere scrubbers in that cell are working overtime just to keep it alive." The human sat quietly in her cell, seemingly unaware of the discussion about her fate. She appeared to be doing something repetitive, lifting herself up and down using the edge of her sleeping platform, over and over again. "Peculiar behavior," Calax noted. "She's been doing this since arrival, along with other rhythmic movements. Our xenobiologists are puzzled." "Probably a stress response," Vexthal dismissed. "These lesser species often display erratic behavior when captured. Schedule her for standard processing and assignment to the mineral processing facility on Darkstone VI." As they turned to leave, an alert flashed across the holographic display. The human's vital signs showed no degradation despite 12 hours of continuous physical activity. In fact, they appeared to be strengthening. "Impossible," Vexthal muttered, his crystals darkening with confusion. "The gravity in that cell is set to Garaxian standard. She should be struggling to move." "There's more, Commander." Calax brought up another display. During transport, her containment pod lost environmental control for 6 hours. The temperature dropped to near freezing, and oxygen levels fell to 60% of her species' standard requirements. And she slept. Her vital signs remained stable, and she appeared to enter some form of reduced metabolic state. When conditions normalized, she resumed normal function with no apparent adverse effects. Vexthal's crystalline form vibrated with irritation. "A coincidence, or a malfunction in our monitoring systems. No species can adapt so quickly." He studied the human again, watching as she transitioned from her lifting exercises to what appeared to be a series of controlled combat forms. Her movements were precise, economical, almost predatory. "Prepare the testing chambers," he ordered suddenly. "Tomorrow, we'll see what this human is truly capable of." And Calax. He paused, his crystals pulsing with an unfamiliar frequency. "Access the restricted archives. Find everything we have on Earth and its history. Something about this doesn't align with our intelligence reports." As the commanders left, Sarah Chen completed another set of exercises, her movements never faltering. In the corner of her cell, barely visible, lay a small piece of metal she had been slowly shaping into a tool, her fingers working it whenever the surveillance crystals rotated away. The cameras didn't catch her slight smile, the expression of a predator who understood something fundamental about survival. Sometimes, being underestimated was the greatest advantage of all. The first test would begin at dawn, and Sarah Chen would be ready. After all, humans hadn't survived countless extinction events, ice ages, and their own destructive nature by being weak. They had done it by being adaptable, resilient, and most importantly, patient. The Garaxians were about to learn what countless species before them had discovered. Never judge a human by their appearance. The testing chamber was a massive hexagonal room, its walls lined with crystalline sensors that pulsed with an eerie blue light. Commander Vexthal watched from the elevated observation platform as Sarah Chen was led inside, her small frame dwarfed by the two Chronaxian guards flanking her. The chamber's atmosphere could be adjusted to match any known hostile environment in the galaxy, and today it would push the human to her breaking point. Begin environmental sequence alpha, Vexthal commanded, his crystalline form vibrating with anticipation. Let's see how our specimen handles magma world conditions. The chamber's temperature began to rise rapidly, the air becoming thick with sulfurous compounds. Most species would already be showing signs of distress, but Sarah merely closed her eyes and regulated her breathing. Sweat began to bead on her skin, but her vital signs remained remarkably stable. Increase temperature by 30%, Vexthal ordered, his crystals darkening with frustration. The chamber's walls glowed orange with heat, the air shimmering. Still, Sarah remained standing, her expression focused but not strained. Clack studied the readings with growing concern. Commander, her body is actually adapting to disperse the heat more efficiently. She's sweating. Sweating? Vexthal's voice carried a note of disgust. What primitive biological function is that? It's a cooling mechanism, sir. The liquid evaporating from her skin creates a microclimate that helps regulate her body temperature. Quite efficient. Actually, before Vexthal could respond, a proximity alert blared through the facility. A massive solar flare from the binary system was approaching, far sooner than predicted. The facility's shields would protect them from the worst of it, but the power grid would need to be adjusted. Divert power from non-essential systems, Vexthal ordered, including the testing chamber's environmental controls. The chamber systems began to power down, but something unexpected happened. Instead of the temperature normalizing, it continued to rise. The emergency cooling systems had failed. Sir, Calax's metallic voice carried an edge of panic. The chamber's containment field is malfunctioning. Temperature is approaching critical levels. We need to evacuate the subject. No, Vexthal's crystals pulsed with sudden inspiration. Let's see how she handles a real crisis. Inside the chamber, Sarah quickly assessed her situation. The rising heat was becoming dangerous, even by human standards, but she had trained for extreme conditions during her time with Earth's Special Environmental Response Team. She noticed something the aliens had missed. The chamber's crystalline walls were beginning to resonate at a specific frequency due to the heat stress. Without warning, she began to sing. The sound that emerged from her throat was pure, clear, and precisely pitched. The crystalline walls vibrated in response, creating a harmonious resonance that spread throughout the chamber. The aliens watched in astonishment as the temperature began to stabilize, then gradually decrease. Impossible, Vexthal whispered. She's using acoustic resonance to alter the crystal matrix's energy absorption rate. Sir, Calax's voice was filled with awe. She's not just surviving the conditions, she's controlling them. The human continued her song, moving through different frequencies until she found the perfect pitch. The crystals in the walls began to pulse in sync with her voice, creating a natural cooling effect as they redistributed the excess energy. In the observation room, Vexthal received an urgent message from Central Command. The preliminary analysis of Earth's historical records had arrived, and what they revealed was staggering. Humans had survived conditions that would have driven most species to extinction. They had endured ice ages, asteroid impacts, and countless natural disasters. More remarkably, they had emerged stronger from each catastrophe. Sir, Calax interrupted his thoughts. There's something else you should see. He brought up a detailed scan of Sarah's brain activity. During the crisis, her neural patterns actually showed reduced stress levels. It's as if she was enjoying the challenge, Vexthal finished, his crystalline form dimming with realization. He watched as Sarah concluded her song. The chamber now returned to safe levels. She stood in the center, tired but unbroken, a slight smile playing on her lips. "Schedule all available testing chambers for tomorrow," Vexthal ordered, his voice carrying an unfamiliar tone. "Respect. And bring me everything we have on human musical frequencies. I want to understand exactly what happened here." As Sarah was led back to her cell, the facility's systems finally stabilized from the solar flare. But something had changed fundamentally in the balance of power. The Garaxians had created these chambers to break the spirit of their prisoners, but they had never encountered a species that turned every challenge into an opportunity, every crisis into a chance to adapt and grow stronger. The real test, Vexthal realized, wasn't for the human at all. It was for everything the Garaxian Empire thought they knew about strength, resilience, and the true nature of power. The Stellar Containment Facility's archive room hummed with activity as Commander Vexthal absorbed the stream of data about Earth's history. His crystalline form pulsed with varying colors as each new piece of information challenged his understanding of what defines strength in the universe. Humans fought wars in temperatures ranging from -40 to +50 degrees on their standard scale, he muttered. They survived in deserts, tundras, mountains, and ocean depths. They thrived in gravity conditions that would crush most species, and in atmospheric pressures that would implode standard environmental suits. Kilax, monitoring the facility's security feeds, interrupted his study. "Commander, we have a situation in Block 7. The Shadowmancer prisoners are attempting to breach their containment fields." Vexthal's crystals darkened with concern. The Shadowmancers, beings of living darkness, were among their most dangerous captives. Their ability to absorb energy and corrupt organic matter made them nearly impossible to contain. Only the specialized crystalline barriers, powered by the facility's fusion core, kept them in check. Warning klaxons suddenly blared throughout the facility. Multiple systems began failing simultaneously: life support, gravity control, and most critically, the containment fields. The distant solar flare had caused more damage than initially estimated. "Status report," Vexthal demanded, his crystalline voice sharp with urgency. "The primary fusion core is destabilizing," Klax reported. "The Shadowmancers are feeding off the energy fluctuations. At this rate, they'll breach containment in less than 20 minutes. Evacuate non-essential personnel," Vexthal ordered. "Initiate emergency protocols." "Sir," Klax interrupted, his metallic form rigid with surprise. "The human. She's requesting to help." In her cell, Sarah Chen stood calmly despite the chaos erupting around her. Through the transparent barrier, she locked eyes with Vexthal. "Your containment system is based on crystalline resonance," she stated matter-of-factly. "I can help you stabilize it." "This isn't another testing chamber, human," Vexthal warned. "The Shadowmancers will consume any organic matter they touch. Even your remarkable adaptability won't save you from that." Sarah's lips curved into a slight smile. "On Earth, we have a saying: the darkest shadow is cast by the brightest light. Your crystals are capable of amplifying and focusing energy. Let me show you what happens when you combine that with human ingenuity." Time was running out. The Shadowmancer's containment field was flickering, tendrils of darkness probing for weaknesses. Against all protocol and his better judgment, Vexthal gave the order to release Sarah. She moved through the facility with purposeful efficiency, gathering materials and tools. "I need access to the central crystal matrix," she announced. "And I need every prisoner with crystalline or metallic biology to volunteer their help." To Vexthal's astonishment, several prisoners stepped forward. The Chronaxians with their metal skin, a group of crystal minds from the outer rim, even a few of his own Garaxian guards. They recognized something in the human's demeanor, a quiet confidence that inspired trust. Sarah quickly organized them into a precise geometric pattern around the central crystal matrix. "Your bodies will serve as resonance points," she explained. "We're going to create a cascade effect, using the facility's own crystal structure as a massive energy-focusing array." As the Shadowmancers began breaking through their final barriers, Sarah started humming. The sound was different from her previous performance. Deeper, more complex, with harmonics that made the very structure of the facility vibrate. The crystalline and metallic beings around her began resonating in response, their bodies becoming conduits for an expanding web of energy. Vexthal watched in amazement as the darkness meeting the light created something entirely new. The Shadowmancer's energy-absorbing abilities were being turned against them, their darkness drawn into a carefully orchestrated pattern of light and crystal. Now, Sarah's voice rang out, and every crystalline surface in the facility flashed with blinding intensity. The Shadowmancers, caught in the web of resonating energy, found their darkness transformed into pure light, their very nature altered at a fundamental level. In the aftermath, as emergency teams secured the facility, Vexthal approached Sarah. She was tired but stood straight, her eyes clear and focused. "How did you know it would work?" he asked. "I didn't," she admitted. "But humans have a long history of turning disadvantages into advantages. Where most species see limitations, we see possibilities. It's not about being the strongest or the most advanced. It's about being adaptable, creative, and most importantly, willing to take calculated risks." Vexthal's crystalline form pulsed with new understanding. The incident would be reported to Central Command, but he already knew this would change everything. The Garaxian Empire had always valued strength in its most obvious forms: size, power, natural weapons. But this human had demonstrated something far more valuable: the ability to transform weakness into strength, to find solutions where none seemed possible. As Sarah was escorted back to her cell, now more a formality than a necessity, Vexthal began composing his report. How does one explain to an empire built on power that they had fundamentally misunderstood the nature of strength itself? The emergency council chamber of the stellar containment facility buzzed with tense energy as representatives from the Garaxian High Command materialized in holographic form. Their crystalline bodies shimmered with various hues of concern and disbelief as Commander Vexthal presented his report on the Shadowmancer incident. "You allowed a prisoner to access critical facility systems." High Commander Zixtal's voice resonated with disapproval. "A human, no less. Do you understand the severity of this breach in protocol?" Before Vexthal could respond, the facility's sensors detected an approaching anomaly. Through the observation window, a massive void tear appeared in space, a phenomenon that occurred when reality itself began to unravel. Multiple void tears detected, Klax reported, his metallic form reflecting the chaotic energy patterns outside. "The solar flare has destabilized the local space-time fabric. We're looking at a cascade failure that could tear the facility apart." The High Command representatives flickered as interference disrupted their transmission. "Evacuate the facility," Zixtal ordered. "Initiate self-destruct protocols. We cannot risk the prisoners escaping through the void tiers." "There might be another way," Vexthal interjected. "The human." Sarah Chen, her understanding of crystalline resonance cold. "Enough about the human." Zixtal's form pulsed with anger. "This fixation on a primitive species must end. Execute emergency protocols immediately." But Vexthal had already made his decision. He terminated the transmission and turned to Klax. "Bring her here," and access the restricted files on human space exploration. All of them. Minutes later, Sarah stood before the observation window, studying the growing void tiers with focused intensity. The holographic displays around her showed humanity's early ventures into space, their primitive rockets, their near disasters, their relentless drive to explore despite overwhelming odds. "Your species," Vexthal observed, "has a peculiar relationship with the void. You ventured into space before you even understood how to properly shield yourselves from radiation. You sent humans to your moon in what were essentially metal containers with primitive propulsion systems." Sarah smiled slightly. "Humans have always been driven by curiosity more than caution. We see challenges as invitations, not warnings. Those early space missions, the astronauts knew the risks. They went anyway." She gestured to the void tiers. Your crystals generate containment fields by creating harmonic resonance patterns in spacetime. The void tiers are essentially anti-harmonic disruptions. But what if we could use the facility's entire crystalline structure to generate a counter-resonance? The energy requirements would be astronomical, Klax protested. The strain on the crystal matrix would be distributed, Sarah interrupted, through the crystalline beings in the facility, including you. She looked at Vexthal. Your bodies are natural amplifiers. If enough of you work together, synchronized with the facility's systems. A violent shudder ran through the station as another void tear opened closer to the facility. Time was running out. The risk is unacceptable, Klax stated. The frequency required to counter the void tiers could shatter every crystalline being in the facility. On Earth, Sarah said quietly, we have a concept called acceptable risk. It's not about knowing you'll succeed. It's about deciding that the goal is worth the attempt. She turned to Vexthal. Your people value strength. Show me what that really means. Vexthal's crystalline form pulsed with decision. He activated the facility-wide communication system. This is Commander Vexthal. I am requesting voluntary assistance from all crystalline beings in the facility. We are about to attempt something unprecedented. To his surprise, not only did his guards step forward, but many of the crystalline prisoners as well. They had witnessed what happened with the Shadowmancers. They had seen how cooperation could achieve what force could not. Sarah quickly organized them into a precise geometric pattern throughout the facility, creating a living resonance network. As she had done before, she began to sing. But this time, the sound was different. It carried harmonics that seemed to reach into the very fabric of space-time itself. The crystalline beings joined in, their bodies vibrating in perfect harmony. The facility's crystal matrix began to pulse with energy, creating waves of resonance that spread outward to meet the void tiers. Through the observation window, they watched as space itself began to heal. The void tiers, caught in the web of harmonic energy, started to close, but the strain on the crystalline beings was immense. Several of them began to show signs of structural stress, their forms flickering with the effort of maintaining the resonance. Hold the pattern, Sarah encouraged, her voice never wavering despite the sweat running down her face. Just a little longer. Vexthal, his own crystalline form vibrating to the point of near shattering, realized something profound. The true strength of humanity wasn't in their ability to survive or adapt. It was in their capacity to inspire others to reach beyond their perceived limits, to risk everything for a chance at achieving the impossible. As the final void tear sealed itself, the stellar containment facility fell into an exhausted silence. Crystalline beings throughout the station slowly stopped vibrating, their forms still intact but forever changed by the experience. Sarah Chen stood in the command center, her voice raw from maintaining the harmonic frequencies, but her eyes bright with the satisfaction of success. Commander Vexthal's crystalline form had taken on a new configuration. Microscopic fractures throughout his structure that, instead of weakening him, had created new resonance patterns, making him stronger and more adaptable than before. The same transformation had occurred in every crystalline being who had participated in the harmonic convergence. High Command is hailing us, Klax announced, his metallic surface reflecting the renewed stability of space outside the facility's windows. The holographic projectors activated, showing not just High Commander Zixtal, but the entire Garaxian Council. Their crystalline forms pulsed with a mixture of confusion, anger, and, surprisingly, curiosity. Explain, Zixtal demanded, his tone holding less authority than before. Vexthal stepped forward, his newly transformed crystalline structure catching the light in ways that made several council members pause in surprise. High Command, what you witnessed today was not just the saving of a facility. It was a demonstration of a kind of strength our empire has never truly understood. He gestured to Sarah, who stood quietly observing the proceedings. We have always equated strength with dominance, with the ability to overcome through superior force. But this human has shown us a different kind of power. the strength that comes from adaptation, from turning weaknesses into advantages, from inspiring cooperation even among sworn enemies. The prisoners helped willingly, Klax added, his metallic voice carrying new harmonics. Species that have fought each other for generations work together, following the guidance of someone we had dismissed as weak and primitive. Sarah stepped forward, addressing the council directly. Your empire is built on the principle that strength must be proven through conquest. But on Earth, we learned different lessons. Our greatest achievements came not from dominating others, but from overcoming our own limitations. We turned our physical weaknesses into technological advances. We transformed our fears into exploration. We evolved not by becoming invulnerable, but by learning to adapt to anything the universe threw at us. The council chambers erupted in discussion, crystalline voices creating complex harmonies of debate. Finally, Zixtel spoke again, his tone thoughtful. The changes in your crystalline structure, Commander Vexthal, they are permanent. Yes, Vexthal confirmed. And they make us stronger, more resonant, more adaptable, just as exposure to humans themselves seems to do. Another council member stepped forward, her crystalline form ancient and complex. Perhaps it is time for the Empire to adapt as well. The universe is changing. The old measures of strength may no longer serve us. Over the next several hours, decisions were made that would reshape the future of both species. The stellar containment facility would be transformed into a center for cultural and scientific exchange. The prisoners who had helped save the facility were offered opportunities for rehabilitation through cooperation, and Sarah Chen was appointed as the first human ambassador to the Garaxian Empire. As the council session ended, Sarah found herself standing with Vexthal in the observation dome, watching the binary stars paint crystals of light across the void where tears had threatened to destroy them all. You never did tell me, Vexthal said, his new crystalline structure creating beautiful patterns in the starlight. How did you know we would survive the harmonic convergence? The energy could have shattered us all. Sarah smiled. I didn't know. But humans have a saying. The strongest steel is forged in the hottest fire. Sometimes, the only way to become stronger is to risk breaking completely. A dangerous philosophy, Vexthal observed. Yes, Sarah agreed. But it's taken us from caves to the stars. It's helped us survive ice ages, plagues, wars, and our own destructive nature. And now it's helped us make new allies among the stars. As they stood watching the stars, messages were already spreading throughout the galaxy. The Garaxian Empire, one of the most powerful forces in known space, had been transformed not by conquest or force, but by a single human who showed them that true strength comes in many forms. And in countless worlds across the cosmos, other species began to look at humanity in a new light. Not as primitive beings to be conquered or dismissed, but as teachers who could show them how to transform their own limitations into sources of power. The age of crystalline resonance had begun, and with it, a new understanding of what it truly meant to be strong. In the end, it wasn't about being unbreakable. It was about learning to transform, adapt, and grow stronger through change itself. It was a lesson humanity had learned through countless generations of evolution and survival, and now it was one they would help teach to the stars themselves.